Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Myles Rowe of the Force Indy team. Of course, that's a new team in USF 2000. How's it going, man?
It's amazing, dude. It's amazing. Pleasure to talk to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. So when this new team formed, I know that when Coach offered you a position to be a part of this, what was it like initially to say, yeah, I want to do this?
Oh, I mean, it was pretty surreal because I wasn't expecting anything like that to kind of happen, especially after the amount of time that I've been through out of racing. Um, so it was, I mean, it just was relief. I mean, I felt like the result of perseverance there, like a true, like strong result of persevering and, like believing in yourself and your dreams and like what you can do. And, yeah, it brought a lot of satisfaction and it was just something that I just tried to just take step by step once the cards started coming into play and yeah, it was really nice. It was a really good feeling.
So you mentioned there that you spent some time out of racing. How long did you go between when you were and then when you just came back this year?
Yeah, so it's been about 4 years because I ended in 2016 in the Lucas Oil Formula Series.
Yeah.
And then 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, we're here. So yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute for sure, but I've been able to kick the rust off, and if you're talented in something, typically, I mean, it depends on what it is, but typically you don't lose that natural ability to perform in that field. And yeah, so that hasn't happened to me. I haven't lost any skill or anything. It's just been about developing my mind and my body differently for different things in that time period in New York, developing my eye for film and photography, developing mentally just how open-minded I am, how conscious I am. And that's played a significant role in how I race today.
So you're going to college. You mentioned that film and photography. Do you want to go like in? What did you want to go into when you were in college, and kind of discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, so I wanted going into college, I wanted to be a director of photography, and I still do. But I started studying a lot of photography because as a director of photography, you're controlling what everyone sees in the film. You are the one controlling it. So you have to have a really good eye. You have to really know what needs to be conveyed through the camera to get the idea across for the viewers. And in order to do that, you need to know how to use your tool. So I took a lot of photography classes to help me um, with just learning how to use a camera better for whatever I'm trying to convey in a film or a photograph. And through doing that, I ended up realizing that I really do actually love capturing like moments and energy and still photographs and still moments, as well as moving pictures as well. Like they both have their own separate kind of world. In one instance, film, it can it's something that entices you. It brings you in closer and closer as you go, and it brings you into the world further. And that's a feeling in itself. But with photography and still images, it's a little bit different because you don't have necessarily like a timeline to work with. Your timeline is 0 seconds,
Yeah.
but within that, it's funny how you spend so much time looking at a specific photograph you're interested in because you'll go into different layers of the character if there's a character portrayed, and then you'll go into the composition and then the substance that's in the composition, and learning about that and getting more in detail and technical with that really made me kind of branch into photography as well, and really like love to execute um, whatever message I'm trying to illustrate in still images. So still want to be a director of photography, still have just as much passion for motion pictures and creating them with my eye, but at the same time have just the same amount of passion for still images because they are two different worlds, but they can convey something. Whatever you're trying to convey, they can convey quite uniquely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, this weekend you're running at the Indy GP. Of course, what's it going to be like to go there the first time running at that the historic road course? I know that it's going to be an interesting few weeks for for all the road to Indy, because the USF 2000 series and the Indy Pro 2000, they're going to be running the road course this weekend. Then in a few weeks they're going to be heading over to the oval at the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway, formerly IRP,
Mhm.
um, to go run there. What's that going to be like for you to go from a road course to a oval?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be obviously a quite unique experience, um, from growing up on road course circuits to not having any oval experience of just turning left. Um, it's going to be interesting in the fact of what's the difference in how you feel the limit of the car through the corner. For one, there's a good amount of baking on the ovals, more than you would see on a lot of road courses. Um, and with that, on the ovals, you're obviously taking the car to its maximum cornering ability. So it's going to be interesting to see how that applies through banking and how the momentum applies as well through the oval. Because in road courses, it's a lot more stop, accelerate action, and you have a lot more control over how you execute the momentum. But in an oval, your momentum's constantly running unless you're taking a pit stop. There's no break unless it's a seriously tight oval. So it's going to be interesting to figure out how to work with that and work with the momentum and figure out which way controlling the momentum works best for the fastest lap time or the fastest speed. Um, yeah, I mean, I Barber was a good track to really feel out the limit of the car. It's a very high speed track, and we had an official test there, so there's been a few extra days to learn, the real pure limit of this USF 17. I'm confident that it won't be too bad, but it'll be interesting to see how the difference is compared to a banked oval with constant momentum, um, compared to Barber, or any other road course where you're stopping momentum and there's less banking and you're not on the limit 50-70% of the lap. Um, yeah, it'll be quite unique, but I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it. Like, I'm really excited to see how it feels, because I've been watching it forever. So yeah, it'll be cool. I have a lot of positive feelings about it, and I think we're going to take away a lot of things from this test as well.
Okay, so you haven't been in a car for a while. So I wanted to ask you, when you want to get, like, this is a brand new team is going to go through, like, typical struggles of a brand new team. Typically, we don't see, success out of, brand new teams that first year unless something crazy happens. But over this year, how do you think you're doing so far in the USF 2000 series? We're about 4 races in. How would you rate yourself so far?
I would rate myself in a way of how I'm controlling all the circumstances that I can control. And for the most part, I've been doing all right in that aspect.
Yeah.
The things I need to make improvements on are controlling the environment and the energy on track with your opponents during the race. Um, but that's time, time in the car, time, that's race time. And I mean, I didn't even get a lot of race time before when I was driving. So that's going to be a little bit of a learning experience, but I feel like it'll come. It'll come not too long. We learned that in St. Pete, just in a more risky situation than should have been, and could have controlled that a little bit better. Um, yeah, but in terms of like preparation, diet, rest, track study,
Mhm.
mental strength. and going on track through practice and feedback and communication. And then you go into things like the debriefs, and then executing, those one laps in qualifying. I'm doing all right. I think I'm doing all right. But it's about mainly like focusing on the race and controlling the situation through the opponents, and being able to drive effectively in that way.
Yeah. Do you, and last thing, I know that, this is your first year in USF 2000. Do you see yourself in this series next year, or do you feel like you, obviously we'll know a lot more once we get towards the end of the season, do you feel like you need to be in the series another year just to kind of maybe get used to these cars a little bit more?
People might have different opinions.
Okay.
I think, the goal obviously is IndyCar.
Yeah.
And the higher up you go, the heavier the car gets, the more torque and horsepower the car has, and the harder it is, to handle as well. The more physical strength it takes away from you during a race event. And the goal is just, I have a good knack for handling a car quite well off the bat. So it would be, I think it would be, I could handle Indy Pro next year, no doubt. I mean, I'm not saying it would be a good idea to do it this year, but I think if you put me in Indy Pro this year, I think I could do all right in it. I think I could perform. It's just about what's right for the team. What's the situation outside of the team and the road to Indy, and in IndyCar? What's the situation between financials? And there's a lot of aspects that go into that decision. But for me personally, in terms of performance, in terms of how I carry myself going into a weekend and through a weekend, I think it would be a good and needed step for me, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Myles Rowe of the Force Indy team. Drew a blank there for a sec. Thanks for coming on. Good luck this weekend at the Indy GP and at Lucas Oil Raceway. Going to be a fun few weeks for you, bud.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm excited for Lucas Oil too. It'll be fun because never done an oval like we said. So I'm super stoked, and we'll see how we do. Just progress as we go. Keep getting better, like I said, about that control and everything. So we'll see if some improvements are made over these next couple of weeks for sure.